Good afternoon once again to all our delegates, uh, and good afternoon to all our fellow panelists. Uh, the topic for today is HSE, risk, challenges, and opportunities. The points that we are going to cover is support from government agencies, scientific institutions, and international organizations, awareness, education, and training, regulatory framework and compliance, ensuring highest HSE standards in business operations, new risk due to energy transition, risk associated with digitization and automation. Let me introduce our speakers. It's a very heavy panel, 7 of us, and including me, 8. So I will not go through the, say, short bio. I will just read the designation and we will straight away jump into the panel discussion. We have with us Dr. Atul Srivastava, former head of department and vice president HSC and LP Engineering Reliance Industries Limited. Mr. Mukul Agarwal, president manufacturing, Deepak Fertilizers and Petrochemicals Corporation Limited. Mr. Ramdas Bhaurao Jadhav, general manager HSC Indian Oil Corporation Limited. Dr. S.P. Garg, advisor HSC and former executive director GAIL India Limited. Mr. Mukesh Kira, Associate Vice President HSC SRF Limited, Mr. Ved Prakash Singh, Managing Director Kenjo Creative Private Limited, Mr. Manoj Patel, GM Quality and HSC Adama India Private Limited. So what we have is we have a mix of chemical and petrochemical. We also have some senior people from the industry as well as current working. So this ideal mix will give us a very good perspective on how things will shape up. Let me start with Mr. Mukul Agarwal, who is the president manufacturing, Deepak Fertilizers and Petrochemicals Corporation. Sir, after the corona, when factories started scaling up or started going for their full-blown operations, we saw many instances of safety or fire hazards that we saw. So just wanted to know how this could have been restricted, and so what was the root cause analysis, or what do you see went wrong and how it would have been rectified? So over to Mr. Mukul Agarwal, President Manufacturing, Deepak Fertilizers and Petrochemicals Corporation.
Thanks, Praveen, and a very good afternoon to everyone joining here today. When you say that after the corona and COVID lockdowns, when the factories started to come up, we saw some incidents happening in the chemical industry, particularly in the industries which are handling the chemicals which are flammable or prone to explosion. And we had different incidents happening in the western part of India, northern part of India, and South India. And this came to a lot of discussion within the industry as we debated and looked at what are the different root cause, what has gone wrong, and also within the regulatory authorities that what can be done to improve the safety and health of the people who are working inside the factories and around them. So what I believe from these, because in our organizations nothing happened in this area, and we were very proactive in managing our safety situation, and especially managing the change management, working in a different environment. But what we understand from the published report and interacting with the fellow industry colleagues, what we found is that the main reasons for these incidents have been lacuna and somewhere in the process safety management and change management. So the change management process is very important and critical for the industry. And whenever there's a change which is happening, either in the process or even in the way that we handle the chemicals, store the chemicals, these things are very important, and things that needs to be checked, regulated, like the pressure safety valves needs to be inspected, the process leakages points and pressure ratings needs to be adjusted. Some of these incident happened because of mixing of two different non-compatible chemicals being stored together and then causing this type of incident. And some of these incident happened because there was a hot work going on in an area where their flammable materials was stored. So if you look at a whole bucket of incidents which happened, and the causes that cause these incidents, it points out to be improving the process safety management practices being followed in these plants, especially the chemical plants. Internally in Deepak Fertilizers and Petrochemicals, we have been following the process safety systems very diligently, because we are also handling a lot of hazardous chemicals at our sites, and because of that we have been able to safeguard and protect our sites from any of the negative incidents, fire incidents, or abnormal release to the environment and things like that. So I think the key is to have a good discipline in the process safety management and change management. Then only we can protect our people and also our infrastructure, equipment, and protect the people who are living in the surrounding communities.
Thank you, Mukulji, for your initial comments. I request Dr. Atul Srivastava, former head of the department and vice president HSE and LP Engineering, Reliance Industries, if he can talk about how can an industry ensure highest HSE standards in business operations, based on your experience of working so long for the company. So over to Dr. Atul Srivastava.
Thank you, Mr. Praveen, and good afternoon, the audience. I have been in oil and gas and chemical process industries for over 37 years. And I feel, as an overall perception from all the companies, 3 global companies that I have worked, the leadership counts a lot. When it comes to HSE standard, leadership is a role not only for the company leadership, but the HSE leadership, which can drive the change when it comes to elevating the HSE standards. Now, having experience of the industries in the Middle East, where I was there for about 20 years, versus what I have seen within India, I find that there are differential leadership treatment to the HSE profession. While our country, India, has made a lot of progress towards HSE performance, there is a long way to go when we are comparing ourselves to what the West has to offer to us. So the first factor, as I said, is the leadership. If leadership is not conscious about the need to, as Mr. Mukul Agrawal has mentioned, the process safety management is very important to ensure the sustainable performance of any manufacturing company, particularly in oil and gas in the chemical industry. So it should not be only talking terms. We have to commit the resources for that. We have to give the right respect to the profession of HSE and process safety management. Since HSE department is not a producing department, we don't generate revenue. So sometimes when we are in economic crisis, when it comes to cost cutting short, people start with the non-producing organization. But in HSE, because we have a lot of long way to go up the learning curve, whatever culture we are establishing in terms of process safety management or even occupational health and safety management, that should not be lost. That leadership of HSE, the cultural build in our organizations, in our companies of big, small, and medium scale industry should be sustained. So to cut short my answer, everything in HSC standard enhancement starts with the leadership. If leadership is not conscious about it, no amount of effort can work. Over to you, Praveenji.
Thank you, Dr. Atul Srivastavaji. After having heard from an oil and gas, I would like to toggle and move to the chemical industry. And here we have with us Mr. Mukesh Kirar, the Associate Vice President, HSC SRF Limited. So wanted to hear your opening remarks on how do we minimize, like Dr. Atul Srivastav talks about leadership, what according to you is important so that we can minimize these incidents moving forward. So over to Mr. Mukesh Kirar.
Thank you. Thank you, Praveenji. First of all, I would like to say thanks to ICN to giving me this opportunity to present my view on this prestigious platform. In my point of view, every organization should have a will to provide the safe and healthy workplace to our employees. This is the first choice where organization should have a zero tolerance. The intention should behind not to comply on the regulatory part only. At least we are providing all the facilities to employee. We are providing a safe and healthy workplace to employee. We are identify the risk and reducing them. But only few companies are going beyond the regulatory part. So first thing, I think organizations should feel that your people are your valuable asset. And it's not only the regulatory requirement, but also a moral responsibility to provide them a safe and healthy workplace. The few things which I would like to add here, to minimize the risk is the secondary term. The first will have to identify the risk at every level. So you just find out the thorough risk assessment through various tools like HAZOP, HAZEN, HERA, FMEA, whatever you have. You just identify each and every risk in your risk register. Then segregate your organizational risk at a level of high, medium, and low category. Then set a highest standard for monitoring and validation of all the measures. This is very important. I'll take some time to speak about on this chapter because you all have a wonderful risk assessment register. You have a HAZOP study. Once you put the corrective measure or mitigation plan to reduce the risk at the certain level, you actually plan something, some of the related to the engineering control or the administrative control or elimination, substitution, whatever. But the monitoring of those control measures are very important because most of the time it fails due to lack of awareness or lack of intentions behind that. Sometimes we fails to monitor all these corrective measures what we put to reduce the risk. So this is very important, and education of your people about the risk. So these are the key points which we have to ensure while we develop our system in the organization so that we can ensure the good and effective system in place. That is my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mukeshji. Now I again come back to the gas sector, and we have Dr. S.P. Garg. He's the advisor HSC and former executive director GAIL India Limited. Sir, wanted to understand what type of organizational safety culture should be there so that it can be minimized for hazardous industries like oil and gas, where you have worked for a long time. So over to Dr. S.P. Garg for his views.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Praveen, for this opportunity. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, it's a very relevant question. In fact, when you ask that how can you reduce the incident or accidents, I would say develop a good organizational safety culture. Because ultimately, incident would happen or not happen, besides having your best of your procedures, safety management system, best of the workforce in place, if you have not developed a good organizational culture, and if it is only a quick fix type of culture wherein an incident happens and suddenly the organization becomes wiser and they take certain measures and after some time again they forget it, that kind of culture in the organization cannot take it to the achieving the best safety goals. So we have to achieve what is called as the interdependent kind of safety culture in the organization, wherein everybody is worried about the safety. Everybody is worried about not his own safety but other safety as well. If there are 1,000 employees at a workplace, then one employee is looked after by 999 employees. That kind of culture we have to imbibe in the organization. Having said that, it's not easy and it's not a one-day job. It's not a discrete event. It's a basically journey to develop a good safety culture in the organization over a period. Now, as my friend Dr. Srivastava mentioned, leadership plays a key role in this because leadership drives the culture and culture drives the behavior. In GAIL, we understood it quite late, I would say, in 2013, when we realized that in spite of having best of safety management system in place, best of the technology, best of the processes, best of the people available, which we thought we had, still there were somewhere here and there small incidents happening. Then we did introspection. We sat with the board of directors, chairman, with an external expert brought in from UK, and we deliberated what trick we are missing. So we found out that probably we were missing a behavioral intervention in the organization. So, having said that, you have to have safety management system in place, safety policy in place, and the best of the procedures, SOPs written, and the procedure to learn from each other, the peer organizations, interactions with them, all that in place. But still, you should also have a focused intervention on behavior, because the employees or the other contract workers, at times, they do not behave at workplace in a safe manner. They are showing the at-risk behavior or the risky behavior, which also causes the incidents. So now when we talk about the leadership and its important role, there are, in general, we would say two types of leaderships. One is the transitional leadership and another is the transformational leadership. So transitional leadership focuses on achieving the results. It's a leadership which shows the managerial skills of achieving the targets and reaching certain results. But transformational leadership goes beyond that, because I believe it's not only the written procedures, standards which are enough. They are necessary, they are definitely required, but one has to go beyond that. And for that, you need a transformational leadership which engages everybody so that they go beyond the call of duty in serving the safety in day-to-day basis. Then only you will be able to develop a culture, a rich safety culture, a strong safety culture in the organization, wherein even if you are away from the plant or facility, you will be rest assured that nothing will go wrong. So leader has to show the felt leadership. People all around should feel, should be, seeing leader doing the right thing every time. They should be seeing him doing the right thing, and they should be believing that my leader is doing the right thing. So that kind of felt leadership, where everybody, every employee, every person at the bottommost level of the chain, he believes in the leadership. Leadership could be at the corporate level, local level, HOD level, section head level. So that kind of leadership, which is felt by everybody, and they are thickly involved in leading from the front, in walking the talk, then only the culture could be built in the organization, which can go a long way in getting the best of the productivity and best of the safety culture. Back to you.
Thank you, sir. We have with us Mr. Manoj Patel, GM Quality and HSE, Adama India Private Limited. And he is from the crop protection part of it. So wanted to listen from him what kind of safety measures that his company is taking. So over to
Yes. Thank you, Pravinji. See, as a panelist, Srivastav sir and Garg sir says, there is the commitment from leadership. Yes, of course, there is commitment from leadership is must. But same time, the middle management and shop floor people, agility also required. So when the combination of this leadership commitment, middle management and shop floor, then we can create the culture. See, for risk, I'm attached with the crop protection, so I'm giving the one example. Suppose before 1 decade, there is a lot of crop protection chemicals having the red triangle. Red triangle means the low, highest toxicity in low dosage. So the hierarchy says that is elimination, substitution, engineering control. So the whole world think about the handling, how to remove the handling hazards. So R&D is going to change this scenario. Instead of the red triangle means highly toxic molecule, convert into low toxic human molecules. So the substitution things comes from global R&D thinking. So if all the level substitution, elimination, all the level people are gathered and want to make change. Of course, this will take time, but for better risk mitigation challenges, the whole culture means whole the world if move towards the changing the risk factor and get the better opportunity. So in crop protection recently, if you say, then there is a elimination of totally high toxic molecules. So now new molecules is research is very low toxic to human being, animal and aquatic toxicity. So in short, we can say that suppose if you ask that Agrawal sir that how to handle the this pandemic, right? So in Corona also, this is the new changes. So when the world is continually changing, so when the change is there, the whole team, if agile, then you can make the whatever requirement change is immediately, and you can mitigate whatever the risk is there. And I say that in Adama we have good teamwork and we have fight very good manner in this Corona pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I come to Mr. Ramdas Bhaurao Jadhav, General Manager, HSE Indian Oil Corporation Limited. And let me understand what kind of risk and disaster management are there in the oil and gas industry. And in the second part, I will ask him about the accident analysis. So with respect to the risk and disaster management, how are you minimizing it? So over to Mr. Ramdas Bhaurao Jadhav.
Thank you, Praveen, for giving me an opportunity. Very warm welcome and good afternoon to everyone, those who have connected all over the world. Going over the learning about the risk management, I can say that hazard and risk at around workplace is now a concern today. But hazard and risk are hidden in the process and operation on the organization, and they built up at a dangerous level over a period of time. So we have to analyze such all hazard and risk, and we have to come across, build a good HSE practices, and which it will result to get the sustainability in everybody's business. So what objective or focus we have to understand that we have to identify and address the hazard and risk, but in a simple way. Because if you are taking on a very broader manner or on a costlier part, your business cannot be sustained. So you have to learn and focus the implement, monitor and hazard and risk analysis with the great risk and an acceptable limit, so that it can be minimized. So your focus and objective should be that awareness and training to people on hazard and risk analysis, rather operability. So employee will get understand how to carry out hazard and risk analysis themselves for their plants. So definitely it will build their capability, and employees also, they will run to reduce the risk at acceptability level. So coming back to the risk analysis and study, it is a process of safety management and hazard study. So hazardous operability study we have to do, and accordingly you can build up the disaster management plan, which will definitely, it will prevent and keep the preparedness for any emergency in your surrounding area or for your mutual aid partners. So definitely you have to mitigate the risk by building a very good uh, firefighting equipments and self protection equipments, that is called PPE. And also after the any disaster happen, you have to learn about the response and recovery, definitely in crisis management. So the safety culture, as my earlier speaker said, that it will be built only by the behavioral based safety, which you have to implement at the bottom level, right from the contract labor, employees, staff, and definitely officers who are controlling them and monitoring them. So, and you have to study the process safety, because it's a blend of engineering management and operational skill, and focused we have to prevent on the catastrophic incidents, particularly explosions, fires, and toxic releases associated with the use of chemical and petroleum products. So system safety has to be built up, because it has got the various technologies, and also typically it's faced with probabilistic risk analysis. So out of that, HAZOP is one of the several techniques available for identification of such hazard. So operability, when we study that, it's a methodology and identifying and dealing with the potential problems in industrial situation or a severe impairment of the process. So definitely you will manage the risk, because risk management is very simple. You have to identify, evaluate, and give prioritization to the risk, followed by coordinated or economical application. So definitely you will get, you have to minimize, that is called MMC, minimize, monitor, and control. So all probability, if you control that for the unfortunate events, you can control and you can overcome out of it. So because a risk is always probability of magnitude called, and assessment. Again, risk assessment is a systematic procedure describing and qualifying the risk associated with the hazardous substances, because you are handling in a chemical industry or petroleum industry, you are handling with the hazardous product. No doubt it's a very risky, it's like a bomb. So when you are handling, so you have to identify its culture, its risk probability, then quantum, definitely, because qualitative quantitative risk is there. And because if you are not handling, it is a damage to the environment, damage to the your industry, damage to the property, damage to personnel also. Any accident is always theory that. If it is not controlled, it's a disaster. So these risks are assessed on the basis of classification, environmental, industrial, reliability, financial and health risk. Because always manpower you have to look after, you have to keep them healthy and hazard free. And in any incident, if you find root cause, then it is a best practice that to share others, so not to repeat again, and you can control any hazard, injury, disease, death, or as I said, property loss in any, because these are definitely hazardous are fire hazard, explosion, toxic hazard, corrosive hazard, and radioactive hazards. So if we study the Henry's domino theory, it says that whenever this careless person or faulty person, because he doesn't have the right SOP or right procedure, he handles the in a mis way and creates the hazard or incident, unsafe act we can call. So ultimate result of that unsafe act or condition is a accident or incident which resulted in the injury. So second part, I think Prashant, we can talk about DMP, or should I continue?
No. I will come back to you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Because we have to finish the first round and then move to the second round. So let me also get views of Mr. Ved Prakash Singh, who is a consultant, and presently he's running his own organization, Managing Director, Kenjo Creative Private Limited. So Ved Prakash ji, you have listened to all speakers from the chemical, petrochemical, oil and gas, some former, some advisor, and also present working. So in nutshell, what do you see is the summary as a consultant? If you can unmute yourself, sir, we can't hear you.
I think this is the big responsibility you have told to me. Thank you, Mr. Praveen, and our respected panelist. And this is really good opportunity for me to hear from you guys and definitely learn. As I heard, Dr. Srivastava and Dr. Garg and Mr. Mukul and Manoj ji and Ramdas ji, they all have emphasized the leadership and safety culture. I have the same opinion. In fact, there are something soft barrier and there is something hard barriers. So for soft barrier point of view, definitely safety culture matters a lot, because everything is man-made. There is nothing so-called automatic. When you are dealing the system with man-made, you have to deal with man psychology, and man psychology comes with the culture. And I was very much happy to hear Dr. Atul and Dr. Garg, who are emphasizing from the leadership, because it starts from the leadership, and anything and everything from the top, and it is supposed to disseminate and percolate down to the line. If you're saying about occupational safety as well as process safety, everything comes from the leadership. Now let us go for the occupational safety. In occupational safety, you have a lot of injuries to individual, lot of property damages to a small level. But in process safety, we cannot afford even a single mistake. This is a loss of primary containment. Here, people say that inherent safety design. I would say that even ISD, inherent safety design, is also part of safety culture, also part of leadership. You can definitely ask me a question. How? Say, for example, if our company has proposed one new construction, one new plant to be constructed, and company leadership has given, one budget. And in that budget, if I have freedom to evaluate the risk from the concept stage, then we have to go for feed stage, then we have to go design stage. But if I am a HSE leader, and if I have given a freedom from the management, that yes, there is a budget, is no concern regarding ISD. So the moment I do risk assessment, and my risk goes to the beyond LR, That means in intolerable zone. The moment we are safety professional, we are the manager, we are the leader, we should say that no, this technology, this design is risky, and this is always coming in intolerable zone. So, but the question is, again, I mean, I correlate with Dr. Srivastava and Dr. Garg saying that leadership and management. And if management has given liberty to me to change the design, is changing the design at feed stage and concept stage and design stage, not so late. But once it is constructed and once it is built and once it goes to the operation phase, then it is too late. So, I mean, but when you are changing your decision at even feed stage to go for the technology to ensure that your technology should having the ISD, inherent safe design. So inherent safe design again goes back to the Eric PD principle: elimination, reduction, isolation, PPE, and discipline. So ultimately, just to conclude, actually, I'm not so senior like Dr. Srivastava and Dr. Garg, who has spent their whole life in safety, but I'm learning from them and I will keep learning from them. I would say that yes, nothing changes if my software changes. Garbage in, garbage out. That means it has to change from the day first. Nevertheless, if my company is old, there is a safety culture transformation. As Mr. Manoj has mentioned and Mr. Ramdas has mentioned, that yes, safety culture transformation can happen anytime. And but only thing, if company take a lead, if management is ready to change, change cannot happen by telling to change it. Change has to be real, I mean, apparent. So I mean to say that yes, safety leadership, safety management, and safety culture transformation is one of the ingredients to prove that all accidents are preventable and all health hazards are containable. And I can stop my statement now here. Said we can say that yes, all accidents are preventable. There is nothing so-called accident will happen. But the question is how, why and how we are not able to stop the accident. Accident will happen. It is happening today. It will happen tomorrow. It will happen after 1 year. It will happen after 10 years. But yes, this is change.
We will come back to you because we have now 20 minutes left and we have to move to the second round. And we are 7 speakers. So you will get all 3 minutes each for the next round. So now I reverse the order and I come back to you again. So, and I want to understand from you, what are the new risks which are coming up and how, according to you, how are you creating awareness, education, training, or how in terms of standard operating procedures that you are taking care of? So your 3 minutes starts, Mr. Ved Prakash ji.
Sure. Thank you very much. Actually, if you are saying the new risk, I am little bit skeptical to say new risk. Risk remains same in process industry, in chemical industry, in petrochemical industry. And risk is only one thing. Hazard is only one thing, loss of primary containment. The moment my enemy comes to my room, my home, I am at risk. That means my enemy is hazardous chemical and the hazardous chemical has to be there in their compartment, in their storage tank, in the process vessel. But the moment it comes out of their room, I am at risk. So that means risk is not new, but yes, you can say that now process safety is a new part, new definition in last 1.5 decade. As Dr. Atul has mentioned that from last 20 years, he was in abroad and he has seen many industries, there is a leadership role. Risk does not change. Risk was the same and risk is now the same. The question is how far I'm able to successfully contain that risk in their compartment. Now, second thing, you are said training and awareness. See, I believe that training and awareness is not one-time job. This is a continuous improvement. We have to go for the PDCA, plan, do, check, act, and we have to continuously find out the T and A, training need assessment. This is not new terminology. Every industry, every managers, every leaders are doing TNA, and based on the TNA, they are providing training and awareness. And training has to be done every now and then. This is not one-time job. This is not a refresher. Training is not challenge of your knowledge. Training is one kind of refreshment and challenging your leadership and encouraging yourself to inbuild and inculcate your culture. And safety culture I mean, it is not something called, I am a consultant, I come to you and I change safety culture within a day. This is very, very slow process, and this is very invisible process. So with this, I end my, time, because you have given only 3 minutes. Thank you very much, Praveen. Your voice is not audible, Praveen.
Thank you, sir, for adhering to the time and also talking about, as you rightly said, wherever the hazardous chemicals are there, it needs to be in that place only rather than being put in another place. So that's a very interesting perspective. Let me get some more perspective from Ramdas Bhaurao Jadhav ji. And he's going to talk about with respect to disaster management and accident analysis. So, sir, your views, and I would request if you can restrict yourself for 2-3 minutes. So over to
Yes, thank you, Praveen. Again, coming back to the disaster management, it involves prevention, preparedness, and emergency response and restoration of and recovery. So these 3 types of disaster we normally overcome. One is within your location or a plant. Second is emergencies nearby industry, and another is a big disaster is because of the natural calamity. So some of the examples are fire, explosion, spillage of chemical, injuries to the personnel, and combination of all this above. So while handling disaster, you have to always look up the scenario that's level 1, level 2, and level 3. This level 1 and level 2 are normally grouped in the within on-site emergency. It's a within plant or a nearby plant. But whenever the level 3 is offsite, it can be a disaster and a bigger way outside or also where district authority or state government authority and mutual aid members or a national agency comes into the picture. So this is about all the disaster, and while handling and prevention preparedness, you have to train your people on the PPEs, maintenance you have to do, spill response you have to do. Then you have to learn about hazardous material. You have to teach about evacuation procedure, then handling emergency by mock drill practices, and proper fire extinguisher uses and equipments they have to train by the within mock drill practices. And very important that all your siren or notices should work, because whenever you are handling such that the gas monitoring system or a vapor extraction system or remote control system or your emergency shut up button, it should work properly, then you can mitigate. And second, about the, we have to look about the accident, why it's happened, then only your investigation is becomes very simple. When you are handling a accident investigation, you have to go for the root cause, handle why analysis or other analysis, tree analysis, see the whatever the documents available, troops around, get the interview, people surrounding there, and imagine the what could have been happening in that accident, so that best you can find out the root cause analysis, which can be shared across to your all division, other industries, and worldwide. So thank you very much, Praveen, for giving me a second chance.
Thank you, Mr. Ramdas ji. We have it, that our next is from Adama, Mr. Manoj Patel, and wanted to understand him what, see, accidents do happen and nobody wants that, but because of some lacuna here and there, it happens. So what kind of support do you feel that you require or from different agencies, from international organizations? Is there something lacking or in the present regulatory framework or compliances, which needs to be bettered moving forward? So your views, sir.
Thank you. See, nowadays the communication is very fast, and now the world is each other nearby. So theoretical, there is lot of data available in the Google and books and etc. Right? But see, the accident is happen due to the behavioral lacking. So main thing I focus for the best safety culture in your organization. Now the things how can create the best safety culture. So there is lot of things for encouragement. Suppose training. Now training word is very old, right? Training everyone can mean in several ways. But nowadays there is lot of digitization and lot of things is available. So you can make the training enjoyable. Suppose you are making the competition, you are making the some game, you are making the quiz, right? So if you are making the training enjoyable and frequently as a refresher, so people slowly get aware of what you want to teach. Then see visual, now SOP is there. So written SOP is there. So most of the cases people are not going to read. So instead of that, there is a 3D and 4D visual SOPs you can prepare. And you can aware, see from soft load to top, there is a maybe chance of illiterate the health worker is there. So the visual SOP can very helpful to upgrade your safety culture. Then the induction, see, we have brainstorming and we implemented that how to newcomers get proper information before starting his work. So there is induction, we keeping for 1 month different department to get the information, what are their activity, what are the risks, how they are mitigate. So such type of the program running in induction. So when the person is reach at his workplace, he come about what factory is doing and what the risk and what the challenges. Then recently we from last 1 year we have initiated plant safety tool. So what are the middle management? What are the middle managements? Every month going in plant, hold the site and take the round. What are the unsafe condition is there? So they are putting and we are collecting safety department and those actions are taking for the completion mitigation. Then dojo boards. See, fire safety, there is dojo board. Dojo is the Japanese word. So there is one board. So all fire safety equipment is there. So when we want to give the training about the fire safety, we all together opposite the board and practically we give the understanding about the fire safety. Then near miss program. So near miss program is also very important. So near miss program also correlate to your injury and fatality. So once you run the near miss and fatality ratio, then from that you can control your injury or accident. And then lastly is encouragement of the employees. So we are running the best workers of the safety. So during the month, we all middle management check whose workers are behaving proper way in PPPs and safety culture. So we are in last day, we are gathering and giving some trophy to them. So encourage other people how to create the behavioral about the safety. So such type of changes in your training and awareness program will help to build a well safety culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manoj Patel, for your views. Now I come to Dr. S.P. Garg, and sir, if you can talk about the role of safety management system in creating safe work environment. Can you hear me?
Yes, certainly.
Okay, sir.
Continuing from my earlier talk, which I talked about safety culture, one of the important element is, of course, safety management system. And since the time is short, there depending on the type of the organization and the size of the organization, type of businesses, there could be various elements in a safety management system. For example, in oil and gas industry, my friends know that there is a complete detailed OISD standard on safety management system, which gives you 19 elements starting from the leadership commitment to operating procedure, MOCs, all those things. So all the organized sector, they do have it. Now I'll be talking about 3 important elements because there are only 3 minutes given to me. One is the SOP of about which Mr. Patel has already mentioned. And I would also like to stress upon it that this is very, very important, that your standard operating procedure or SOP should be very simple, easy to grasp, and the operator who is going to actually start the equipment or the pump or compressor in the field and who is going to actually act on our behalf, he should be very thorough on SOP. It should not become a bookish SOP. So to help him to understand, there could be animated films made on SOP, and the operator should be asked to see them and again, so that it becomes very, very clear in his mind. Even agar hum usko neend se bhi utha dein, to still he will be able to recollect those steps which he has to take during operating a particular equipment. That is one. Number 2, I will talk about the MOC, management of change. We have seen many, many accidents happening within India and outside India also, internationally, because of not following a right management of change procedure. If we are to change any hardware or software within the operating facilities, we must have a proper procedure. Nowadays, the procedures are built in the various electronic platform like SAP platform. We have built our MOC procedure. So if I want to introduce a new pump, new valve, or new piping, anything in the system, then I must do a proper due diligence. I must do a HAZOP study for that, hazard operability study, whether I am going to increase the risk by introducing this new change into the system. And if yes, then what are the new mitigation measures also I am going to.
We've missed you, sir. Unable to hear, sir. We have missed Dr. XP Garg. So let me come to Mr. Mukesh Kirarji, and understand how what we can say these risk management analysis done by companies over a periodic time frame. How does corporate or corporate leaders take this risk management analysis, and how do they work on it moving forward?
Sorry, there was some intervention.
So please, we have 5 minutes left and another 3 speakers. So 30 seconds for you, sir, more.
No problem.
Okay. So Mukeshji, your views. And I would request if you can restrict yourself to 2 minutes.
Yes. So I'll give you example of my company that we have a set system to identify the risk. We are eliminating and reducing the risk at the level of designing stage. We have a set of R&D department. So whenever we select any processes or any system, we eliminate and we always have a choice to select the less hazardous processes. So we are conducting, we have a procedure for PHA, process hazard assessment, from level 1 to level 5. Level 1 is to identify all the kind of hazards. Level 2 is the risk evaluation, which give you the helicopter view of all the plant process related risk. Level 3 is for the hazard study for the critical processes. Level 4 is for the pre-startup safety review, and level 5 is the re-hazard of the system. So this kind of process we have. Also, we have a monitoring system for the corrective measures which we have placed for the critical risk. We are monitoring on the regular basis. We have all kind of study, quantitative risk analysis, uh, uh, critical risk identification and evaluations. So this kind of work we are doing. Also, when we talk about the leadership consciousness about the risk management, I would say the leadership and the uh, line manager accountability. It's a both the combination can give the best result to identify the risk. Also, when we talk about the risk assessment for the existing processes, we do also have a system, and it is also our responsibility to make them aware about people about the critical risk of processes. So this kind of system we are following in SRF. So I think, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Mukulji to give his views. And then I would request Dr. Atul Srivastava to give a summary on what needs to be done so that it can be minimized moving forward. So Mukulji, your thoughts, sir.
I think all the speakers have shared a lot of insights into how do we manage our risks and how can we maintain and sustain the safety organization, and right from putting in the right systems in place and behavioral aspects, as well as periodically managing the change aspects, like what's changing, what is the new risks coming up, how do we train our people and all that. So all the topics have been well covered. I'll just like to say one thing, that the biggest component or the success factor is the operating discipline, because we have so many things in place now, safety systems, SOPs, procedures, HSE, risk management. But if we are not having the operating discipline, then things will be taken for a like toss. So things will not maintain and sustain. So this is the most strongest pillar which to be driven by the leadership at all the levels, not only the top management, but middle management at the supervisory level. So this is going to determine the success of all the systems that we have: preventive, protective, corrective measures, and also to build the capability of the team in maintaining the system. So I really enjoyed this session, and thanks for organizing this session. Look forward to several sessions like this in the future. Thanks, Praveen.
Thank you, sir. Now I would request Dr. Atul Srivastava so to summarize, and I think it's rather me summarizing. You are the best person, an industry expert with so much years, with so many years of experience. I think would request if you can do the summary.
Thank you, Praveen.
And if you can do point-wise, that would be more beneficial, and all our delegates will feel happy.
Yes, yes. Before I summarize, just one quick point I want to say, that if we look into the history of major accidents that have happened in the industry, they come normally from three major categories. One is the design issues. Plants have design issues, and that's why we are focusing more and more on a smart design of the plants using various feed, HSE, HSOP, about which some of us have talked. The second one is the operational regions, as Mr. Mukul Agrawal has talked very nicely. If we stretch our operating envelope, if we stretch our plants till they break down, because we are in a rush to produce more and more, of course, we should produce more and more, but at the same time, we should not compromise with the integrity of our plants. And the third reason for most of the major accidents in the industry is we made some mistakes while doing maintenance. When we do maintenance, we engage our contractors. And most of our contractors, sometimes they come from petty contractors. They are daily wage earners. It depends which company we are talking about, small. And we don't orient them, but we just give them the job and we don't instruct them how the permit work system should work. We don't do the effective supervision. So these are the three areas which we should look very religiously, very closely with the leadership. Leadership is not only sitting in the boardroom, as Dr. Garg has talked about. Leadership is sitting at all levels. Even supervision is a kind of leadership. So if I'm giving a job to a contractor, then me as an engineer have to supervise. I have to tell him, handhold him how you have to follow my safety management system of my company as a client. So in short, this panel discussion had been very, very thought-provoking. We started from the leadership. Everybody appreciated the importance of leadership. Then the maintenance of safety culture can avert the disaster, because disasters may happen in the middle of the night when you don't have leadership. So it is the culture which helps us in the middle of the night. And thirdly, we should focus more and more on the hazard identification ability of our workers. As somebody mentioned, not in this forum, that the culture, our ground level workers, their way of working is the reflection of management system. We may have very good safety management system, HSE management system, but if it does not percolate down to the ground level worker, who may be a poor daily wage earner, but because he did not know ABC of what we expect him to do, he will make some blunders, maybe during maintenance and operation. So there is a need to continue the surveillance at all levels. There is a need to sustain the HSE profession. There is a need to give the due respect to HSE profession, and we should not be treated like in a department which does not give us revenue. We give the revenue which is intangible. We produce the culture, we motivate the workforce, and we work as a watchdog. And I hope this kind of patronage should come not only at the company level, but at the state level as well as at the country level. Over to you, Praveen.
Sir, it is not only about revenue, it is also about brand. And when brand goes for a toss, even a small minor
That yes.
or a big disaster,
Business continuity affects. Yeah.
So and the brand value is very important, and you rightly summed up the whole exercise. Being an expert, I'm more of a generalist, so I will not do the sum up again. I would like to thank all my speakers and very senior people from the industry. Dr. Atul Srivastav, former head of department and vice president HSE and LP Engineering Reliance Industries Limited. Mr. Mukul Agarwal, very senior people, president manufacturing Deepak Fertilizers and Petrochemicals Corporation Limited. Mr. Ramdas Bhaurao Jadhav, general manager HSE, Indian Oil Corporation Limited. Dr. S.P. Garg, advisor HSE and former executive director GAIL India Limited. Mr. Mukesh Kira, associate vice president HSE SRF Limited. Mr. Ved Prakash Singh, Managing Director, Kenjo Creative Private Limited, and Mr. Manoj Patel, GM, Quality and HSE, Adama India Private Limited. Let me also brief you that for the first time, we did the HSE seminar on, say, Indian Chemical News and NextGen Chemicals and Petrochemical Summit. Seeing the response, I think we will have to do more moving forward. With that, I would like to thank once again all our speakers and delegates who attended this event. Many thanks, sir.